Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Now today I'm going to show you exactly how to remove and clean your EGR valve. So let's get outside and let's get cracking. Okay then, so as you can see we have the M47 engine here. This is the 2-litre diesel engine from BMW, and the EGR valve is located in this general area here. So we do need to remove the engine covers. This one here at the front actually just lifts up. There should be a couple of clips here, but they are just broken, so this just lifts up and falls out of the way. And then the actual engine cover itself is held in by 4 main screws. So they are a 5mm Allen screw, one there, one there, one there, and one there. Then on this engine, because this is in the E46, this engine cover also covers the power steering fluid reservoir, whereas a smaller screw just there, that's held in by a 4mm Allen screw. Let's get the main one to remove first. Okay, so we can remove the main engine cover now then. So with the main engine cover removed, then we can now see the EGR valve itself, just held in onto the intake manifold with 4 10mm bolts. And then it's just a case of removing the EGR cooler pipe and this intake hose here, as well as a vacuum hose, and then just this little bracket here. So let's get them all removed now. First thing I'm going to do then is remove this bracket off the top. It's just held in by 1 T25 screw. I'm going to unclip this cable here from the intake manifold, just so we don't end up snapping it. And I'm going to remove it from this bracket here as well. And now I'm going to start disconnecting these 2 Jubilee clamps. So there's one for the intake pipe. You can just use a flat bladed screwdriver or a 7mm socket. I just prefer to use a socket, just makes it a little bit easier. So nice and loose, and I'll loosen this one as well. Be removed then. There we are. Let's see if we can slide this intake pipe off. There we are. That's that removed. And now I'll go ahead and slide this vacuum hose off as well. There we go, that's that removed. And now I should be able to just get on the 4 bolts that is holding the EGR onto the intake manifold. Let's remove this out of the way so we don't drop it. Yeah, that's one of the bottom bolts removed. Go, see the bottom bolt removed. Yeah, and now let's try and give this a wiggle. There we are. Just came away nice and easily. And yeah, just take a look at how dirty this thing is. Yep, that's to be expected. Okay, so now that we have the EGR valve itself removed from the car, we can just see how clogged up this thing is with carbon. The first thing you want to do is try and remove as much of this buildup as possible by hand, you know, with the help of a screwdriver, and then we will start introducing some cleaner. So let's get at this with a flat bladed screwdriver and see how much of this we can get removed. So yeah, just look at how thick this carbon is coated on. Okay, so now that we've been at it with a flat-bladed screwdriver, we've removed the majority of the big chunks of carbon. Now it's time to start introducing some cleaners, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually try an oven cleaner. So this is just you know, standard oven cleaner, and it's especially made for breaking down carbon. So if I just go ahead and spray this into the EGR valve itself, and then essentially we're just going to let it sit. It does foam up, and as you can see, the entire thing is now covered. So I'm going to kind of leave this to sit for a few minutes, let it do its thing, and then start to agitate it once it's been sitting for a couple of minutes. Okay, so now that this thing has been sitting for a couple of minutes, I'm going to start agitating some of that carbon with one of these sponges. Kind of has a rough side and a soft side. I'm going to use the rough side and just start to scrub on the outside, and then once I'm happy with the outside, I'll go ahead and attack the inside of this thing. Okay then, so I've actually just gave this thing a rinse out with the pressure washer, and if you have a look inside, it's actually pretty clean now. This is only just after agitating it with the oven cleaner. Yeah, this EGR valve is now pretty clean. Now obviously we could just stop there. This could now just go back on the car, and it would yeah, definitely work a lot better than it was before. But there is, as you can see, still some stubborn pieces of carbon on the inside of this thing. So what I'm going to do is now attack this with some brake cleaner and see if we can get some more of that debris off. Okay, so after using the brake cleaner then, here is how we are currently looking, and to be honest, I'm happy with this now. Yes, there is some very, very fine, you know, pieces of carbon in here, but that's really not going to make all that difference. You could spend all day cleaning this thing, but yeah, that's good enough to go back on the car now. So in terms of installing this thing, it's just the exact opposite of removal. Okay, so we'll get this thing lined up with the intake manifold, and let's install one bolt at the top. It's just a case of tightening them all down. They have not got to be tight. I'm not too sure of the exact torque specification, but you are bolting this to a plastic intake manifold, so do not over tighten these because you'll just crack your intake manifold. They don't want to be tight at all. It's probably something like 10 Newton meters. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our clamp for our EGR cooler. And then slide our intake pipe back into position. There we go. Now just tighten down this Jubilee clamp. And now reinstall this bracket, which is this way around. And we can clip this cable back in there and in here, and that is pretty much job done. Okay then, so as you can see, The EGR is now back into position. Everything is now firmly back into place. Now I just want to point out that your EGR valve on your M47 or M57 engine may be slightly different because this is one of the earlier models. It doesn't come with an anti-shudder valve. So if you do have an anti-shudder valve, you will have your EGR, then your anti-shudder valve on your intake manifold. It's essentially the same process, but obviously you just have to remove the EGR valve from the anti-shudder valve. But with that being said then, let's get the engine covers back on and then let's wrap this job up. So we've got the main engine cover then. Let's go right into position. And then this front engine cover just slots back into place. And that is job done. Okay then, so that is the EGR valve on my M47 engine now clean. Now this guide is pretty much the same if you have the M47 or the M57, the 2 and 3 litre diesels from BMW. The process is pretty much exactly the same, but this guide in general is applicable to pretty much any car, you know, when it comes to cleaning it. So you know, the best things that you can use really to clean it is, you know, remove as much of that carbon buildup as possible with, you know, with something like a flat bladed screwdriver, and then attack it with some oven cleaner, because that stuff works very, very well. You know, it really does break down that carbon. It makes it a whole lot easier to remove. And then once you've done that, once you've cleaned all that off, then if you want to really, you know, make it shine and get rid of some of the, you know, lesser you know, build-ups, then you can just attack it with, you know, with a solvent, like with something like a brake cleaner or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. You know, if you do want to keep your EGR valve on your car, then I would recommend doing this every 30 to 40,000 miles or so, because yeah, those EGR valves, they do get, you know, clogged up pretty easily, you know, with the introduction of sooty exhaust gases and the crankcase vapors going back through the air intake. Yeah, the EGR valve, it just gets clogged up. It's only a matter of time really, and that's if you want to keep it in place. Now I would actually recommend removing it, but obviously the choice is yours. I will probably at a later date be removing the EGR valve from my engine, just to, you know, prevent it failing in the future, and, you know, stop having to do this continual cleaning process. And my engine is going to thank me for it as well. But yeah, I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. Please remember to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next video.